Welcome to live birding and photography. I'm Caleb for Just Meeting, and today we were trying to get some really awesome pictures live of the local birds here. So several common species that we can see today is black-crested titmouse and Carolina chickadee. I've also been seeing some yellow-rumped warblers. We might even have an eastern phoebe up there. There's been some cardinals. There's a lot of activity right now. So let's go ahead and get going. I'll go ahead and see if I can switch those and make that just a little bit bigger so you can see what my camera is seeing a little bit better. So as far as camera settings go, I've got 1/1000th of a second, which is a little bit slow, especially for smaller birds. We might experiment with speeding that up a little bit. My aperture is wide open at 6.3, and then ISO is just on auto to compensate and make the image bright enough. So we could zoom out a little bit probably. I'm fairly close here. We'll just kind of have to see what comes. We've got some light right there at the top of the log. I think that could be a pretty good picture right there. And then it's a little bit darker in there. So we'll just kind of have to wait. As the sun goes down, the light's going to be shifting. So we'll just have to constantly be playing with that. We have chickadee around here. There he is right there. See if he comes in. There he is right there. He didn't really come to eat anything. He just stopped in real quick. See if he comes back. The black-crested titmouse right there. We've actually got a spotted townie right there. I don't know if he's going to come in because they're pretty shy birds. I can at least show them to you. And there he goes down. There's a Lincoln sparrow. Came in for just a little bit, grabbed a seed, and then kind of went into the bushes a little bit. But that is really cool. I feel like Lincoln sparrows are just not that like out in the open of a bird. Like they like to stay really hidden, and you don't always get a really good view of them. So that's really neat. Take a look at what we got there. Got him up there. That's a pretty good picture right there. That's super sharp. I like that picture a lot. Probably crop it quite a bit, but that is a nice one right there. Oh, that Lincoln sparrow is back. He's not in a great spot for pictures right now. It's not an awful picture, but what we can do is we'll switch to video. Get some video of him eating those seeds. Try and brighten it up a little bit because he's in the shadows right now. And there he goes. That was some pretty good video, I think. We got a titmouse. Really dark. And that Lincoln sparrow's back. A wasp right there. All right, well, that Lincoln sparrow is drinking some water right now. He's not in a good place to get a picture. But we can see what we can do. Got a black-crested titmouse at the feeder right now. There's a chickadee. May have got a flight shot there. I don't know. It's a little blown out. Yeah, so 1/1000th of a second is not fast enough to freeze their feathers. Turn the exposure compensation down. It's kind of tricky because some of it's in the sun, some of it's not, and the camera isn't really adjusting quickly. Birds are probably moving a little bit too fast for me to be able to do manual exposure. See what we got there. We're doing pretty well. I'm going to increase the shutter speed just a little bit because with these smaller birds, any movement becomes a lot faster. So you got to have a really fast shutter speed for the smaller birds that you get. Here's that Lincoln Sparrow again. There's his head. I think that's a pretty good picture right there. Very sharp. Focused right on the eye. We've got a clean background. So that's why I put that log there. If we zoom out here, you can see we've got seeds right there on the rock, and then this log that I put right there. The reason I put it there is then I'd have separation between the background and the bird. So if the birds, typically before I put that log there, the birds would they'd just be on that rock like that titmouse was. And it was a little bit harder to get separation between the background and the bird. And a more zoomed out shot of that chickadee. Right now we're at 300 millimeters. That Lincoln Sparrow is still there. We might see if we can get some video of him. Very cooperative bird, especially for how secretive they usually are. That's a Towie right there. He doesn't seem to be staying in one place for long, otherwise it'd be nice. There's a Phoebe. It's gonna be, there it is right there. I don't know what birds those are right there. They look like sparrows. See if I can focus on them. They just left. There he is right there. They look like rufous crown sparrows. Increase my shutter speed in case he flies. He's in the shadows, which is going to make it really hard to get a good picture of him. Let's make sure that these are rufous crown sparrows. Yeah, it's a rufous crown sparrow, not a very common bird around here. There's a titmouse right there. It's really tough because it's got a super bright background and he's in the shade. That's just a tough picture to get. I don't know if there's really much we can do. We can try brightening them up in post-processing, which rarely it ever gets you a really good picture. There he's gone. That Phoebe's still down there though. Also in the shade. It's a tough one to focus because we've got stuff right in front of the bird, so it's not a great picture anyway, but got a chickadee right above me. Autofocus is having a hard time. Whenever your autofocus is really far out there, it's gonna have a really hard time coming back. I feel like it always goes out far easier than it does to come back. So if you're taking pictures of birds close, focus on something right by you, and then it'll jump to the bird a lot easier. These Rufous crowned sparrows are still down in the brush. Can't really get a good picture of them, but it was cool to see them. I think I've only seen them twice this year. So it's super cool to see them. Not a great picture, but we can brighten it up later and maybe get something. There's a close view of it. Got a little bit of a glare out here, so it actually looks a little bit better on my computer. We could probably definitely brighten that up. Let's zoom out just a little bit. Yeah, I like that. It's not the best picture. Anytime you have to change the exposure, you're probably going to lose quality. I'll zoom out a bit and focus on this log just so we're ready. The sunlight is definitely changing. We might have a bird coming here pretty soon, but you can see most of this log is now in sun. It's great. That titmouse did not fly to it though. A little overexposed. My ISO is a little chickadee. My ISO is a little high, but this Z6 III does a really good job with minimizing the noise, and Lightroom denoise is really good too. So I'm not too worried about it, especially since I need that high shutter speed. Otherwise, the picture is going to be blurry. Let's see what we got there. A little bit overexposed. Very sharp though. That's not a bad picture either. Is that Lincoln Sparrow again? Getting a lot of great pictures of him. And you can see just how sharp that is. Focus is right on the eye. There may have been a wren back there. Didn't come out long enough though. You want to be seen. That Lincoln Sparrow is just behind that log. I can't quite get a picture of him. It wouldn't be a good one anyway though, because there's some stuff right behind him. So you really want a lot of separation, like here. Right here on this log, I've got probably 20 feet, even more separation between the bird and then the nearest thing in the background. So you get that really blurry background, which is really nice. We'll go ahead and bring the exposure down a bit because the whole area is starting to get in the light now. So we don't have to worry about the bird being in a darker part. The seeds are in a little bit of a darker part, but where I want the bird to be to get the picture is in a light spot. So that's what I'm planning for. We've got some birds around here. A couple yellow-rumped warblers. Nothing's in a great spot. That Lincoln sparrow looks like he might be coming back soon. There he is. Can hear a mourning dove, but I do not see him, and that seemed like he'd be in a really good spot. I can hear some cedar waxwings. It would be cool if they would fly over, but that would be a tough picture to get. There's not a lot of open area right above me. So that would make it tough to get a picture of them. But also got a black vulture, it looks like, and maybe a turkey vulture. Yeah. Go ahead and give it a shot and see if we can get through the trees to them. They're gonna have to be in a pretty specific spot, though. If they keep circling like they are, I might be able to go up and get them. There's that black vulture. Should be some good shots in there. Yeah. Vultures are pretty easy to get good pictures of because the autofocus has not a lot that I can get confused with. Can you hear cedar waxwings? I do not see them. So if you want to practice birds in flight, vultures and other birds of prey can be a really good starting point just because there's not a whole lot that I can get caught on. Like right in here with the woods and stuff, it is really tough to have the autofocus lock onto a bird, especially if you're trying to do a birds in flight picture. I've tried in here several times and hasn't really gotten anything good because it's just very easy for your autofocus to jump around, and I wouldn't really recommend it. Also, there's not a lot of room that birds are flying, like they're flying really short distances. So it makes it really hard to track them because you only have probably less than 2 seconds. They're only flying from here to here really quickly. Let's go and take a look at those turkey vulture pictures. Sun kind of caught his wing a little bit right there. Black-crested titmouse, another one. We're starting to get more sun in here, which is great. We just got to keep working on our exposure and our exposure compensation while we do so. You just really gotta just always look at it because sometimes your camera gets it great, but sometimes, especially if you got shadows and darks right next to it and lights right next to each other, it sometimes can get confused and doesn't expose properly. A lot of times, though, I just like to have my auto ISO on, and then it'll usually do a pretty good job and just figure it out. And yeah, it'll get the correct exposure. So right now we've got two black-crested titmouse perched in this tree. Here comes one. But you not spend nearly as much time as Lincoln Sparrow or a chickadee. So you gotta be really fast. A little bit of a flight shot. Right now we're at 400 millimeters, so we could zoom in more, could zoom out some more. Kind of have to see what's best. So John Calendar, sorry I missed your chats earlier. We are in Texas right now, Central Texas, um, as you guessed correctly. And yes, the Carolina chickadee is the chickadee that we have here. Farther in the north in the state, we do have tufted titmouse, and then there's a narrow band where they overlap and hybridize. But down here, we're far enough south that all we have is black crested, which is really cool. Looks like this one's coming in soon. I'm trying to zoom in more for this one, just see what we can get. Might be a little bit underexposed when they're in the shade right there. That Lincoln Sparrow is coming back. See what we can get this time. So right now I'm just trying to figure out how I can get a different picture this time because he's came at least 3 times now, and we've gotten about the same picture. I got some video, so now we just gotta try and see what different pictures can we get. Sometimes it's vertical. Usually, though, I can crop vertical, so it doesn't matter a whole lot. Um, Try zooming out. We're already zoomed in as much as we can. So we try to get more of a landscape shot, or we could try like a slower shutter speed or something, so then we can lower the ISO a little bit. Down there drinking again. Let's see if we can get something there. Switch this to video. So as you can see, there's some stuff right in front of him. I have to manual focus through that. Right now, he's not in a good spot. But if he comes out just a little bit, so I'm not sure exactly how in focus that was because I was manual focusing. Sometimes you think you've got it, but then you just realize it's just a little bit soft. Here he comes. Let's zoom out just a little bit so I can get his reflection. Something spooked him. We've got some birds around us. We actually got a chickadee right there. Might be able to get to him. There's some stuff in the way. Normally, I'd like to move over just a little bit, but I can't right now because I've got some cords attached to be able to do this live. So, I'm not able to do that. So the sun's starting to go down some more. We've still got plenty of light, and it's still plenty bright. Just the light's going to shift a little bit, and since I'm in a little bit of this ravine here, the sun's going to go down a little bit sooner. So we're still going to have light out here, but the light on our perch is going to disappear a little bit faster. But we should still have some more light for a pretty good time. Let's go ahead and go through some of the other stuff that we've gotten already. This Lincoln Sparrow is really good. The video that I like the most is here towards the end, in the middle actually, when you can see his reflection. Didn't get a whole lot of that, but I think that was really nice. Yeah, he left right away as soon as I zoomed out some. Actually, rather look at it on here. Gives us a better look. I think that's pretty nice. It's a little shaky, because I had my hands on the camera, and so even though the camera's on a tripod, it was still shaking just a little bit. And you've got a big lens, every shake is magnified a bunch. So I think to get the best quality video, I maybe should have just set my camera and then tightened up the tripod. But I wanted to be able to track them because that lets me keep them in the frame the longest. But it's a slightly lower quality video. Two titmice and a chickadee that might be coming in here pretty soon. We've gotten some good pictures of the Lincoln Sparrow. That one, the focus locked right onto his eye. But that one's not actually my favorite. So far, the Lincoln Sparrow has been the best bird here. Gotten a lot of good pictures of him. Titmice have not been very cooperative, but we've gotten some decent pictures of them. These are some of my favorite of the day. I think it might be back just a little bit more, but very sharp. He's been very cooperative. Chickadees did a pretty good job. Chickadees, there's one right there. I'll loosen this. Yeah, they've done a pretty good job today. These titmice really just don't stay long. But here's some really good pictures. Super sharp. Look at it on here. That's I really like that one. It's a little overexposed, at least it looks like that on my computer, but it's hard to tell out here with the glare. This picture back here, actually, I think that might actually be pretty good. Very sharp. And I just kind of like how the background's interesting. We've got like a natural vignette right around the edges here, and then a little bit brighter by the bird. Definitely have to brighten up the face of the bird a little bit because he was in the shadows, but I think that's pretty good. And Rufus crown sparrows were neat, even if we didn't get a phenomenal picture of them. Still think it's pretty good. Yeah, they're not completely in the shadows like I originally thought. And this Lincoln sparrow has been doing very well. I think this one right here is probably one of my favorite pictures of the day so far. Focus locked right onto his head, and we're really zoomed in. It still looks like it's really high quality. I wouldn't crop this too much. That looks good right there, and we can even do that, and we've still got really good quality. Probably about as much as I would crop right there. Yeah, something like that. Okay, looks like we've got some more birds coming in. So for my focus, I've got focus set to the AF on button on the back of my camera. That way, I don't have it on my shutter button, and so that way, as soon as I take the picture, the focus doesn't shift at all. It only changes if I press this button, which takes some getting used to. I definitely missed a fair amount of shots when I first turned it on. Playing is really loud. Um, but you get used to it, and I think overall it's a good habit to get into. Um, that way, you just have more control. You don't give the camera any control over the focus, which I like. Then also my FN1 button is single point focus. So if whatever focus mode I have it set on before, like right now I've got it on the wide small with the bird detection, so that goes right to the bird's eye. So if I can't get to it for whatever reason, like if I were to go through here and it's getting stuck on some stuff, I could just turn to single point and then focus that way. So I like to have just that as a backup to quickly get to a bird. Um, there's a northern cardinal right there. See if he comes in. I can hear a lesser goldfinch. I don't see where he's calling from. There's that cardinal back in there. You see, like right now, that autofocus isn't getting it. So I switch to single point and then do the autofocus and it gets it right away. So I really like having the ability to do that. Another tip, I also feel like for the titmice, you gotta be right there, otherwise you're not getting anything. And then my FN2 button is switch focus mode, so I can switch to manual focus, single, and continuous, which I really don't use that at all because if I just do the focus ring, that switched it to manual focus right away. Um, and single servo, I really don't use it all for birds because I just always want the focus to continually be going back and forth and trying to get it on the bird. So maybe I should assign that to something more useful, but for right now, I haven't really found anything that I need to have available. Usually I shift the tripod over just a little bit because that's a good shot of the chickadee. Got a little bit of background separation, which is really nice. That could end up being a pretty good picture, actually. I like that quite a bit. Yeah, right. Good way to practice manual focusing. Manual focus is something you should practice because you never really know exactly when you need it. But if you do need it, it's really helpful to just be able to, like, typically, if there's a lot of different things that the autofocus can get caught on and single point isn't doing it, that's when you gotta do manual focus and try to see if you can get through the different stuff. So, like, we tried to, let me zoom out right here. If I tried to get, to those trees back there and then single point wasn't doing it, still got stuck on there, do manual focus. I've got my focus peaking turned on so that it's a little bit more obvious what you're focusing on. So I've found that if focus is like right there, it's 80 feet out, and then suddenly a chickadee shows up right here, you're probably gonna have to jump it back manually and then autofocus. So if you can get manual focus to get close, and then have the autofocus do the rest, sometimes that is really helpful. So I do that a lot. Like if I'm zoomed really far out, and then all of a sudden something's close to me, auto autofocus isn't always gonna get it. Like right now, it's taking a really long time to get back to that log. So if I just do that, it gets right away. That's really helpful, like, if you're taking a picture of a bird really far out and then all of a sudden something real close to you starts moving or something, you see something close, use your manual focus to get close and then just press your autofocus. For me, it's just this back button right here, and then it should lock onto the bird really pretty quickly. We got a chickadee back in there, but as you can see, there's just a lot of sticks and stuff, so the autofocus is gonna have a hard time locking onto it. Try single point, or you just get ready for when he comes here. And there's the Lincoln Sparrow again. That chickadee was looking like he wanted to come in. But he came in for just a minute, but he didn't land on the log, and I really want him to get on the log. There he is right there. That's gonna be the better looking picture. Lincoln Sparrow loves being on the log. We got those Rufous Crown Sparrows right there in sunlight, so you can see them a little better. I think he must have flown away when I wasn't looking because I do not see him up there anymore. Yeah. Must have flown away because I do not see him. Oh, there's one right there. I had to move down just a little bit. That's where that single point comes in handy. Find one that gets right away. Flip it to video and just see what we can get. It's a tough video to get. That one I did not have my settings set correctly. The focus had a really hard time getting to him. I had exposure compensation up. My aperture was stopped down way too much. So that was not a very good video. But we've already gotten several good ones of that Lincoln Sparrow. Here comes a titmouse. Our perch is starting to get in the shade, which is going to make it harder to get a good picture. There's something right there on the edge of that tree. It might be a titmouse. Lincoln Sparrow is down there by the water again. We got a cardinal coming in. Zoom out because he's such a big bird. I think I got some good pictures there. I had to zoom out because he was a much larger bird than what we're typically getting here. That's a pretty sharp picture. There you can kind of see just how much light we've got and like what it looks like in the shadows versus direct sunlight. Should make for a tough picture. Sometimes you just gotta use it to your advantage. I think I like that picture quite a bit. Yeah, that looks pretty nice. See what else I got. There's probably our first cooperative titmouse of the day. Got a pretty good picture of him. Sounded like a ladder-backed woodpecker just called farther back in there. I don't know if we see him or not. But morning dove. Maybe a picture. Let's see if we can find it. There he is, right back there. See if I can lock this tripod so it's a little less shaky. So right now I've got it. It's only about 6 millimeters. I'm just kind of digitally zoomed in just to get a look at it. As you can see, the quality is not great. Just bump my tripod. But sometimes that's something I like to do. Um, just kind of see, get a better look at birds. The mourning doves around here, I feel like rarely ever perch in a really open area, so it's tough to get a good picture of them. Well, and just get some video and just for fun, just see how much we can crop in later. I don't actually think it's focused on right now. I don't know that we'll get anything from that, but it's worth a shot. So Buick's ran back in here. There he is right there. Not a great picture, but still cool to see him. Looks a lot like the Carolina Wren, just more gray. Pretty much the same except for their color. I think it's really different. There's a titmouse right there. Wait, he's on the perch. I missed him there. See if he comes in again. I hear that woodpecker calling, but you don't see him. Maybe just a little bit too far away. It does not look like that titmouse is going to come back. I don't see him. Can hear a few more things, but nothing is around right now. Here he comes. Sounded like the woodpecker again. See if I can find him. Doesn't sound like he's drumming at all, so there's not a whole lot of noise that we can go off of. I can see something moving back in there. He is right just barely see him. Not exactly sure what kind he is. I suspect it's a ladder-backed. That's kind of what it sounds like. There he is. Yeah, that's a ladder-back. Coming out with a pretty good view too. Switch it to video real quick. Just disappeared, but let's see if he comes back around. It's a little far for video. We can always crop in just a little bit. I don't like to do a whole lot because every time you crop, you're losing some quality. It's also just fine if we get a little bit zoomed out of video, but just called, which is really neat. And he just flew. Well, I think that is probably a great way to end it. So, thank you for joining me here with live birding. I really liked having you here. If you want to get better at birding, make sure to go grab my free ebook that I just made. It's called Start Birding Today. The link is down in the video description below. I think it's a great way for beginners to really just learn the basics and learn all the stuff that took me several years to figure out. So, go and grab that, and I look forward to seeing you next.